All right, so hello, internet friends. I'm Ryan. This is After Dark, and we have a really good one going on tonight. Last week we had our good friend Eric Haugen on, and that was really cool. We had some criticism after the fact, some constructive criticism that maybe it would be better if it were just kind of a one-on-one interview kind of thing. And so I just want to prepare you that this is not an interview show at all. This is a bunch of friends who talk on a daily basis and hang out and stuff like that. And we're basically just inviting other people into our conversation. So if you are expecting a really great interview with Mr. Jacob Givens, or you're expecting a coherent conversation at all, this probably is not going to be the spot for you. I just want to warn you ahead of time. And so with that, I would also like to acknowledge our sponsor for the evening, OK Soda. Their check bounced. So that happened. All right. So now I am going to introduce our crew here. We have Sean from Scythe Guitars. We have Mark from Scythe Guitars.
So
we have Charles from Silktone. We have Eddie from Blues Layer Memes. And then our guest of honor in this discussion tonight, we have Mr. Jacob Givens. How are you, friends?
Doing great. I didn't know we get fireworks by default when you do thumbs up. That's great.
What happens when you do it?
I don't. You do like, there we go. Nobody had unlocked that one before.
That was incredible.
That's a new one.
Lasers up, fellas.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
That's amazing.
It's right now.
That's incredible.
I saw an interview that Blake from the Tone Mob was doing with someone, and the guy was like, and they were like, "What was that?"
Yeah. It seems to upset my parents every time I FaceTime with them. Every time like one of them does some kind of thing and it happens, they're like, "Why is this happening?"
So this is a FaceTime thing?
I think so. It's like it's definitely built into the architecture of Apple, I think, somewhere, because it's definitely happening in every call I have with my parents.
Why are you doing this?
I need to figure out how to get this on my thing, because this is fucking like 4 weeks now. This is not of me just being left right out.
Same, dude.
I think it's the ink on your hand.
Like, could you imagine
Maybe.
like doing like
Sean's, it works on Sean's. He's got all kinds of fucking tattoos.
I got no ink. It don't work on mine. Anyway.
Yeah, weird.
We
could you
need to
imagine
get
like doing a Skype with your therapist, and your therapist like, "How you doing?" You're like,
right.
So no joke, for work I use Microsoft Teams. Like we just use Microsoft Teams for some reason. And there's like I don't know what it is, but there's some setting that must be on mine where like every time I sit and I'm like this, it's just like fucking balloons pop up on screen. And I do this a lot, so it's really, really, really inconvenient and annoying.
I like to believe this is AI fucking with us, and this is the most gentle way that they're going to start. They're going to be like, "Do the balloons again. Do the balloons."
Yeah.
He's in the middle of a divorce. Do the balloons. What's happening?
so I gotta say, one of the coolest moments that I had for you, Jacob. I don't know if it was a cool moment for you, but it was a cool moment for me for you. Was when I saw one of your videos go up.
Yeah.
And I realized, and it was about Sigur Rós.
Yeah.
And I realized that it wasn't you posting it, that it was Sigur Rós posting it. And I was like, what?
Yeah. It's a wild thing to have grown up loving so many artists and bands. And almost instantaneously, I will make a video from everybody from the Tony Danza tap dance extravaganza to Sigur Rós to fucking Silverchair. And then within a day, I get a message from them and they're like, "We love it so much. It's so great." And while a lot of people will say like, "Oh, well, you're talking to like a social media person or whatever." No, a lot of the time I would have to artist.
Yeah, I would have to imagine that Silverchair doesn't have
Yeah,
PR representation.
It was Daniel Johns himself from Australia, and he did the nicest thing. He took my video and reposted it, and he was so kind and so generous in the conversation. And I was like, I want to hang out with this guy, but he lives in Australia. So
that was one of my favorites. I think the part where you're like, because I was a teenager when that record came out.
Absolutely.
And I had the same conversation with my friends where I'm like, why doesn't our band do this?
Pure jealousy, jealousy. Because up until that point, you'd see everybody on MTV and you're like, well, they've got the advantage. They're older.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you see this video come out and you go, what are these kids? What's going on? They're 16, you know, like it just was infuriating at the time. So,
but the point that like you hit that was like the exact same thing that I had with my friends was when you were like, well, we can't because we all play guitar.
Yeah. Right.
And literally that was my junior high band was like 4 guitar players.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody played guitar.
It's like Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have those bands that I look up to from like I used to be like, oh yeah, like as far as age goes, you see kids doing it, then you see adults doing it. And I remember being like 25, 30, like, man, I can't start a band now. Nobody gets big at 30, you know, like nobody starts out at 30. And then I found out like Ira from Yola Tango, they didn't even start till he was like 36. And I was like, oh, fuck, he's my hero. I got time.
Yeah.
And now I'm 38 and I'm like, oh, it's too late.
Dude, I'm
now look at you. You're running a successful amp company. Loser.
It's too late.
I'm 45 and I still believe I can release a successful album. I still believe I can do it.
Yeah. Remind us of the name of your band, Jacob.
The name of my 90s cover band is Temple of the Dads. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes. We knew me and Matt Neal, who's the drummer of the band, we met in stand-up comedy. I did stand-up comedy in LA for 9 years. And we met in stand-up. And so when I joined this cover band with him, we both have comedian sensibilities. And we're like, we wanted to reference the 90s, but we also wanted to be funny and a little tongue-in-cheek as well. We want people to know, like, I'm not getting up there thinking I am the second coming of Chris Cornell, Lane Staley. Like, we're gonna fuck around a little bit. Right. So that was the idea.
So do you guys primarily focus on the grunge era of the 90s?
Primarily, but we are doing stuff that kind of covers the spectrum of 90s. We're definitely staying alternative and grunge primarily, but we've joked around about this idea of like doing a grunge version of "Stay" by Lisa Loeb,
yes.
or bring back like
"Unbreak My Heart."
"Unbreak My Heart," exactly.
That would be a sick grunge song,
right? Or Bryan Adams, "Everything I Do It For You." So just taking these kind of songs and turning them and surprising the audience with them. So we'll see what happens. But we do some stuff that's at the early 90s, the late 90s. But we're growing our set list as large as possible. You know.
Oh yeah. How often do you guys play out?
So we started during the pandemic, and we were not
great time to start.
Great time to get
best time.
No, it was more like we would get together this practice space, probably in like end of 2021 to 2022, just trying to find something to do, keep the creative juices flowing. And it was really slow moving at first, obviously for a million reasons. But we had another guitarist in the band, and our schedules just never synced up. But we have this new guy who joined just in the fall named Chris. And ever since he's joined, it feels like we're playing like all the time now. It feels like we have practices once a month, and we just played twice in the past 2 weekends. And I think we're hoping there's this bar here in Tarzana, and we think it might become our home spot, that they're going to be having us back like every 6 weeks. So we're hoping that'll happen.
That's cool.
Right
fingers crossed.
My dad in retirement has formed like a top 40s group, but they do it all with like mandolin and acoustic guitar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he gigs like way more than I do. Like he is like, it's the only thing he's got going right now. It's like either that or like staying at home with my mom and the dog, so the dude gigs like crazy. And they they do pretty well.
Yeah.
But you know, people really like music that they
already know. Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, cover bands, there's a place for it. We are finding the interesting thing though is that you'll go to a place, and if you're covering 60s, 70s, 80s, the majority of that stuff is very feel good. And when you get to the 90s, you get a lot of angsty, a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of like, I'm in my headspace. We just played this thing. It was a fundraiser for Animal Rescue, and we were opening for this other band that was going to end up doing kind of a live band karaoke, and they're coming out doing some real feel good stuff. And we were up there an hour before, and we're doing Tool's Sober. And I'm giving my best Maynard like yell ever. I'm giving all my energy, and I'm looking out there, and there's just these boomer faces with just awash with like, what is happening right now?
Where is the Beach Boys?
Why are we doing Doobie Brothers? Like, what is happening? And it was just one of those things where you're like, that's the challenge, is a lot of these places we reach out to, and they're like, but do you do anything like really fun and uplifting and fun, you know? And you're like, we do a lot of really great, like we're doing Weezer songs and Green Day songs and Pearl Jam songs. We're covering as much as we can, but you just can't escape that the 90s one were really loud. That's the number one thing that people will say when we play. They'll be like, you guys are loud. Those guitars and drums are loud. And you know, it is the nature of the decade, I guess.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I've tried to start a band so many times, and nobody around here likes the same music as me. So I've tried to start like 7 bands, and it seems like every single band turns into a Tom Petty cover band.
Oh, amazing!
Why not?
Amazing.
I'm fine with it.
You're like, you could all agree that you know those 3 chords.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
We literally at last band practice, somebody said, you guys want to do Last Dance with Mary Jane? We'd never run it before. And I literally looked at the sheet, and I was like, oh, there's like 5 chords in this thing. And then the singing register of Tom Petty is not really pushing anything really hard. So it's like, yeah, we can do this. No problem.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So last fall, I got a call, and Jessica Dobson from Deep Sea Diver wanted to know if she could borrow my amp opening up for Pearl Jam at the St. Paul Hockey Arena.
Amazing.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so in response, you know, like she gave us like, we had like passes and stuff like that. And brought a friend, and we watched the whole Deep Sea Diver set, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then we watched 3 Pearl Jam songs, and went to go get some coffee. I looked over at my friend, and I was like, you ready to go? And he was like, yeah.
I've never seen him.
I've never seen him either. I've never seen him either.
I was 10 feet from Eddie Vedder on stage. And
I'm excited to see them. I'm going to the Kia Forum, and you know, like right now I'm having a very awesome Pearl Jam resurgence, because I don't know if you saw my video. I got to listen to the album with Eddie.
Yeah.
And
no
that
shit.
so people are kind of like they're like, well, how was the album? And I'm like, you're going to have to understand that I wasn't thinking very straight the whole time, because I was looking over and I was like, oh my God, what is my. And he hands me a beer while we're listening to the album. And I look over at him, and he's got that pursed lip, like looking up at me like this. And I'm like, and all of a sudden he's just looking up, like, no, he's just kind of nodding at me like this. And I'm like, holy shit, man. So everything coming out of those speakers sounded like the best thing I'd ever heard in my life. Because I was like, I was like, I'm living my greatest life right now. So, but
he seems like a hell of a dude, though.
He is incredibly kind. He was very generous. He gave us all shots of tequila. He was handing out beers. He had his daughter there with him. And, you know, when I described it in my feedback video, I said, look, it's very polished. And I had a lot of comments of people who said, I don't want my Pearl Jam records polished. I want them rough and gritty. And I'm like, you're not going to get that from a band at their level. You know what I mean? You're just not going to get this raw, gritty. It sounds like it was in a garage. You're going to get polished.
Yeah.
And
they got money now.
They have money, and they're working with, you know, producers that are going to want to make sure that everything sounds as great as possible. And some would argue that that's, you know, compressed, and might not sound good to our ears as to how we want things, but there was a lot more rock in it. And the way he set it up, there was a lot of love and passion. And you guys know me. You've seen my videos. I'm a pretty enthusiastic guy. You can win me over with enthusiasm. Like I could go see a band that I don't really enjoy. And if they're very enthusiastic and they're making me believe they love what they do, by the end, I'll be like, man, that was amazing.
That was the Moldy Peaches for me. I didn't care for him before, and then I saw him live and was like, these guys fucking rule.
Yeah.
and then I liked them from then on.
I have not heard the name Moldy Peaches in forever.
It
Maybe
just
since the 90s.
He's also 60. Like Mike McCready doesn't he have Crohn's also? And he's like,
I don't know.
I think he has
Crohn's is not a death sentence, Eddie.
He's not dead. He's alive. I'm just saying, like, you're not talking about like, there's this thing with like when like bands, artists, they hit a certain age, it's just like, I want to hear the way they sounded when they were like 20, and it's like their lives are pretty comfortable. They're good, and like they're older, so you're just not. So of course, like the songs are going to be different, the energy is going to be different, and the production is going to be different. Like
absolutely,
you're all just different.
You're not getting 10 versus Vitalogy. You're not getting those again. They still exist. Go listen to them by all means.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
Eddie Vedder's not climbing the rafters.
He's not climbing the rafters, and his daughter is hanging on his arm as the show is going on, and he's written a song for her, and it's very sweet. And I'm a father, and I will do the exact same. Like I'm no longer that 20-year-old that didn't understand how things worked. And so you're putting things in through filters and ideas because you just don't know how the world works. And out of that comes kind of chaos, but that is what makes rock, right?
And when you hit a certain age, you start thinking about your,
right.
your 401k and your Roth IRAs. And, it's just as relevant.
Yeah.
That for me, that song would be titled "My Wife Handles That."
Amazing. It's a new genre of rock called slacker dad.
Jacob, how'd that line up for you? How were you invited to the Pearl Jam listening show?
It was somebody on the management team messaged me and just said, "We love your stuff. We'd love for you to be there." And I was sworn to secrecy. I couldn't say where I was going. I had, the information was leaking out there, and I was getting asked like by people who worked with the band, like, "Are you going to this?" And I was like, I can't say anything.
Your kids would be like, "Dad, where are you going?" You'd be
where are you going? It's like,
are you coming back?
I was like, Jacob goes out
going out for a pack of cigarettes.
Goes a pack of smokes, and never comes back.
You beat me to it. I turned to my kids and I said, "I'm going for milk and cigarettes." And then that's the name of the Pearl Jam song. But no, it was a great opportunity. And I've said this on my podcast before. I said, I don't know why I get these opportunities, but I think that early on when I started making videos and I got a comment from the Smashing Pumpkins or I got a comment from Metallica and I was excited about it, people were like, "Well, it's not them." And I think that my outlook was, it may not be, but I'm still going to be as excited and as enthusiastic as I can be. And I think it will lead me to the bands. And it did. So I felt like it was my outlook.
And it often is. I've found that it often is the band on the other side of the screen,
it is. Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Would you come as a shock to you, but when I comment on things on Instagram, it's actually somebody in the Philippines.
If you had a choice between some intern or Lars Ulrich
intern
commenting on your video, which one would you take?
Intern.
Oh, Lars seems like a very difficult person. He would not be the one that I would want to be interacting with. I would hope that
it's Kirk.
That Kirk or Robert Trujillo would be the person that I'm interacting with. That would be great.
I just saw like Hard Times News will kind of like replay some of their some of their best ones on
Mhm.
Instagram, and one of them was like, kid mercilessly made fun of at school for wearing a homemade Metallica shirt. Band showed up with the cease and desist.
That's great. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just preempted my joke, which was going to be to Jacob that after his answer, I was going to be like, oh, I just got an email from Lars. I got to write you a cease and desist.
we can't talk about it more. Can't talk
We're doing it
about
on the air, folks.
Oh man.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about this evening
Yes.
is some of those 90s albums that really kind of stuck in our craw, and it's hard because it's a decade, and
It's impossible.
and when I looked at the list that I made, it was really not the kind of quintessential expectations, like Nevermind isn't on there.
Yeah.
I didn't discover Nevermind until I was in my 20s, which was, that record came out when I was in my teens.
Right.
It was actually after music school. I was riding in the back of a tour van, and at that point, like, everybody took turns on the Discman.
Yeah.
And somebody put on Nevermind, and I remember sitting in the back of the van going, like, because I was a jazz kid, and sitting in the back of the van and listening to it and being like, wow, this is actually really complex, and this is really incredible. But like, when I look back at my 90s list, it's not the quintessential 90s list, and I feel bad about that. But I'd be interested to see what everybody kind of came up with.
Are we limited to 5? Because you keep
whatever.
saying
I don't.
but-
This,
So-
we have
Because
zero
5 is
fucking
impossible.
fucking rules in this place.
Here's an idea. If we get any crossover, you go into your spares and you pull one from the spares and
I like that.
replace
idea.
it if there's any crossover.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I think it's
All right.
fair. Because what's funny is I was talking to Charles earlier, and he he said 5, and I said okay, and then the problem with 5 is you can pick 4, but then once you have to pick 5, that's where you lose your mind, because you could probably line up 4 that you could go, I feel very good about this, but when you have to close the list, you're like, I couldn't possibly,
Which
So
is
that's
why
where
I cheated and said every Pavement album from the 90s.
Yeah, top
Very
5
good.
bands would be a little bit easier. But I did this. I was so busy all day, and just in the last 20 minutes, I was like, "Oh fuck, I got to do my list." So I wrote down like 20 fucking albums real fast,
Wow.
and then tried to limit it down to 5. I was like, "Yeah, I got it." Oh wait, fuck,
Yeah.
there's still 15 left. Like,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, what you
that'd
got, Charles?
be Interesting.
This sounds.
What's your
it sounded
number
like
5?
This
Me,
was
I'm
an
first?
this was an
Oh
anguish.
fuck. I'd rather someone else go so I could do the overlap thing. But,
All right,
All right,
okay.
I'll go. I'll do it.
Do it.
I'm also jet lagged, and I might jump soon.
Yeah, so Charles or Eddie just got off the plane from Dublin.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so
I thought you
he's,
came from foggy London town.
I stopped off in London on the way back.
Did you fly Aer Lingus, the greatest
did-
named
I
airline
flew
ever?
I flew Aer Lingus. So I was in Dublin
Did you
from
perform any Aer
from Wednesday to Sunday,
Yeah.
and on Friday I was supposed to fly into London, and I woke up in the morning for a noon flight, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice. It's snowing. Like, what a nice surprise." And I thought, no problem. I'll get to the airport. The Romans called this place Hibernia. Like, this is the winter place. They know how to handle snow. Turns out that's not true, and it never snows in Dublin. And when it does snow, they lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Oh,
the sheep are going everywhere.
Just
there
what the
are.
fuck is all this shite
Yeah.
falling from the sky?
That's a shockingly bad. So it's
What they say on what they say on the airline is they always say thanks a million. Thanks a million.
yes.
Thanks a million.
Yeah. So anyway, I was in Dublin. I was in England. And I just got back last night. I'm fucking beat. So okay. in no particular order. I'm just doing 5. I'm not doing like this is my favorite one because that's nonsense. I had
I did.
Siamese Dream. What's up?
Nothing. Keep going.
Okay. Siamese Dream, OK Computer, Loveless, every 90s Pavement album. and even though I really hate to admit it, 10.
Don't hate to admit that. I mean, that's a great record.
No, it is a great record, but here's my problem with Pearl Jam. I hate that, and I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna get a lot of shit from the Scythe boys, but after like Pearl Jam caused a wave of bands that all tried to sound like Pearl Jam, like that like wave of rock where everyone tried to have the like Eddie Vedder like sound.
It sounds like you have one band in mind.
Temple
Was
of
that
the Dog.
Stone Temple Pilots by chance?
No. Well,
Alice,
not really.
Alice in Chains, maybe? They kind of
Yeah, no, I'm not. Okay, I get it. But I mean, like, it's just whatever. No, it's a great album. And I left out, I left out Nevermind, right?
Yeah.
But like, I would include it.
It kind of
I was
feels
bored.
like it kind of feels like when like Nevermind kind of feels like when people ask you what your favorite band is, like you never say the Beatles.
Right.
Because it's just kind of understood, you know,
Yeah.
like
Right.
Christopher Glover brings up I forgot about this record. Crash Test Dummies, God Shuffled His Feet. Did that record have more than one song? I'm not sure, but I remember that song.
No, it just goes and then the back is one song. It just runs from start to finish, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I never picked it up.
Jared Harper brings up Siamese Dream is my fave album ever. You know what, man?
Respect that.
I respect that 100%.
No surprise to anybody who knows anything I make that Siamese Dream is absolutely my number 1 album and my number 1 pick from the 90s of all time. It is
Not anymore. It's not.
yeah.
You
Gotta get a new one, dude.
Jet lag doesn't
Yeah, Eddie really fucked me.
Yeah, Eddie
Yeah,
Eddie made me cross out like 3 of them.
Yeah.
I only had to cross out
Wait,
one.
which
for
one?
you,
Wait,
Eddie.
do you have to say which ones you crossed out?
I crossed out Siamese Dream,
oh, shit, too.
Loveless, and what
Okay,
else?
computer.
I guess just 2. No, just
Alright.
2 of them. Siamese Dream.
So-
I didn't have a list, so yeah, that's totally 3 for me too.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm still taking Siamese Dream. I'm not crossing it out. This is absurd. I'm your guest, for God's sakes.
Fuck it, you guys can have it.
Yeah.
all right, so
Yeah.
mine is going to be a little weird, just because I didn't grow up with many friends. So my number, I put a numerical value on it. My number 1, this is a record that when I heard it the first time blew my mind, and I still listen to it a ton to this day. It's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Oh, God damn it,
Fucking
dude.
great record.
Came out in 1998.
Cross out another one.
Oh yeah, that was a good album.
It was a great record. Portishead Dummy
Great
came
album.
out in 1994.
It's a good one.
That was one where I was just kind of like, I've never heard anything like this before. I've heard lots of people, including some of my own bands, try to copy it, and it's not as good. But Fiona Apple's Title,
Great record.
and it was less of an introduction to Fiona Apple and more of an introduction into John Bryan. So then next on my list, I had OK Computer.
Was Criminal on that album? On Tidal?
Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
it's a title.
Yeah, I remember when I listened to that again, like at some like 15 years ago, and I was like, "Oh fuck, that's a really, really, really good track."
Yeah, it's a really good. It's a really good.
It's a good.
It's a really good record. Somebody said Lauryn Hill, one of the worst live performances I've ever seen. That's well documented. I would never pay for Lauryn Hill tickets.
Why is she? I've never heard that. Why is she bad?
She tends to show up like 90 minutes to 2 hours late, and then kind of then I had OK Computer, which was already picked by somebody else. So so I'm kind of choosing between three here, which was like the Baduism, which is a great record.
Great record.
Traveling Without Moving, which is a great record by Jamiroquai. But I'm gonna go with just because it's a record that like made me feel things, and I still feel things when I hear it. Are You Gonna Go My Way by Lenny Kravitz? To fill
Fuck
in.
yeah,
Wrong.
dude.
Right on.
Good song.
Hell yeah.
And then my last one was Jeff Buckley's Grace.
Oh yeah.
And
So
that was
I'm-
actually that was the
I'm no
earliest.
longer playing this crossout game. I'm not doing it. We're not doing it.
No,
You're-
this is how we treat guests. You go last.
No.
You can go
My top 5 have all been mentioned, and I'm keeping all of them. I
Have
don't
they all?
care.
Every single one of them.
I'm pretty sure.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So Siamese Dream, hands down.
Great record.
That's number 1. Okay, Computer, hands down. When you said Grace by Jeff Buckley, I wanted to kill you. I was like, fuck. And then it gets into some interesting terrain because this is, like I said before, I have to choose Nevermind because it was a pivotal teenage moment. It
was
really
a world-changing record.
world-changing moment for me. I was a different kid the day after I saw Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV. I was a different kid. I was listening to hair bands before that.
Yep.
And
That's like the quintessential thing.
yeah, I was literally watching, MTV, and I was like, I the Anarchy cheerleaders and the sound, and I was like, holy shit, I'll never be the same after this. So I have to choose it, and I know it is a default answer, and it is like the Beatles. It's one of those big ones, but I would say I was really torn on the last choice. You guys may completely scoff at this answer, but it was a huge album for me as a teenager, and it was Tori Amos' Little Earthquakes.
Yeah,
that album was
100%.
Good.
that was
100%.
that was a monster album for me. And then but I won't say any more. I have 2 more alternates on there, but I'll wait until others go.
There's an alternate that I have that I'm waiting to hear.
I want to see if anybody says my alternates.
So
And I haven't-
just on Nevermind, so I was I'm younger than you two geriatrics, and I didn't get, like, I was like, oh, never mind. Like this look, there's a baby on the cover and it's rock. It's like, it sounds sad, but I didn't like, and then I got, older and I listened to it. And I was like, yeah, no, it's Nirvana. I get it. But I didn't really understand it until I went through like a hair metal phase, just like listening to like fucking Skid Row and, the like. And then, and then like,
I mean, out of all of them, that's the best one to pick.
yeah. And then like, and then I listened to Nevermind again. And I was like, oh, just like, I fucking get it. Like that's like listening to it in its musical milieu and its context. It's just like, I finally got why it was such a big fucking deal. Like it took me like.
There was
while.
a dude who did a series on VH1 in like the early 2000s. And it was about just kind of the history of metal. And the only one that I really remember was
Metal: A Headbanger's Journey, 2005.
Might have been.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite documentaries of all time.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
My favorite was like when they came around to kind of like the end of it. And it was all like placed on Nirvana, and they interviewed somebody from Rat, who I don't remember what instrument he played, but he like ran a vending machine company at that point.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said was like, just kind of across the board, like when they heard Nirvana for the first time, like they knew they were done. Like it was just like, our era is finished with this band and this record. you know.
And it's one of those things that I think that when even I make TikToks and Instagrams about it, or you see them on social media now, and you've got these Gen Z kids, these teenagers, and maybe it's been beaten to death, you know, like it's like we hear it over and over again, but it really is hard to put into words that you go, it was one of those moments like the Beatles on the TV with the screaming and all that stuff. It was one of those, you know, goes from 1 minute to the next. And if you were there and you remember seeing it and witnessing it, you do recount it like, where were you when you heard this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It unfortunately, as much as we talk about it, it was a thing. So
Yeah, no. And what's weird about it is it was a very short-lived thing.
yeah, it wasn't long. It wasn't long before the corporations cashed in, and then MTV played buzz clips, and you were literally dismissing every video because you went, oh, this is just another buzz clip here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then became a lot harder. And then you were like, oh, bands like Sunny Day Real Estate, 94 Sub Pop, you're like, this is where we need to be paying attention. These bands coming in on the peripheral, or, you know, these underground scenes, because what MTV is giving me is spoon-fed, they're telling me what's cool now. So
My kid will never know like how big of an impact MTV had on
totally.
like on all of music.
Yeah.
I remember recently seeing someone who had kind of like paid a bunch of money for like a higher budget music video. And I was kind of like, you don't need to do that anymore, but you like, remember the November Rain video? Oh my God.
It was
Like,
a film. It was a
It
film.
was a film.
It was an absolute film.
I mean,
that's
Played
where we
for
were back
3
then.
months straight. Yeah.
Top 3 November Rain solos. Go.
That needs to be on a t-shirt. It needs to say top 3 November Rain solos. Go. Holy shit. And then on the back, it needs to be the dude diving into the wedding cake for no fucking reason. That's amazing. And I'm going to hold on to that forever. Thank you for that.
You can have it.
By the
You
way,
got
anybody, I feel like we haven't heard everybody's remaining albums. I'm dying to know what were the ones that you guys had.
Who's next?
Who wants
Charles?
to go? Sure.
Charles, go for it.
I got my shit is so crossed out now. I had to cross out so much stuff, but I have backups. Let's see what we got. The criteria is weird because same thing. Like Nevermind was on mine, but then I'm like, well, was it Nevermind? Is Nevermind my favorite? Like, am I making this list for other people or am I making it for me? Like,
It's for yourself, Charles.
It's for myself.
yourself.
I listened to
This
the
is
unplugged.
a healing moment
Yeah.
here.
I-
We're all
I-
here for you. We're all listening.
I listened.
We all
Unplugged.
care about you.
I listened to Unplugged way more than Nevermind. I like the Unplugged album so much more.
I listen to In Utero more than Nevermind also, so I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
But I like objectively, Nevermind is the more impactful album. That's the one that fucking blew it up, you know. But for me, top 5, I'd have to go Unplugged.
Okay.
For Nirvana, yeah.
That was on my. That was when we did the top 5 live records. That was on my top 5 live records.
Me too. Yeah, same. And then I gotta go Pinkerton Weezer. That's like
Fucking
from
nice.
the start, and
That
then
was on my
also
list.
now, like I listened to it yesterday. You know, like it's just always there.
Absolutely.
And then I wanted to vary it up because I had a lot of shoegaze on it, and then I was like, you know, Loveless was on it. Had to cross that out, but
Sorry.
and then I had to cross out all my Pavement stuff.
Oh, he took all
Yeah, so I
of
just claimed the entire.
You
guitar.
said-
I think it was
you
just like
He just
pavement.
did all of them Pavement, so no more Pavement. I still have Methadrone from Brian Jonestown Massacre. That was
Great
a huge
record.
one for
That's a
me.
cool
Like,
record.
I listened to that a lot. I don't know how many I'm up to now, but I also have All Eyes on Me Tupac.
Oh,
Oh,
fuck yeah.
yeah.
Dude.
Hell yeah.
That's a, you know, that is a
I mean, I was
staying power, you know.
I was debating that
Rest in power.
the first Snoop Dogg record because
I put Chronic on
Oh.
here too as a backup. Chronic.
oh, the Chronic was another one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Chronic
like,
was
Oh,
really
yeah.
good. I don't know, but I have to do Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill.
okay.
That's
Great
like,
Ooh.
dude, I listened to that
Great
probably
album.
more
Good
than any of these
call.
fucking albums combined. It's just I just throw it on constantly, and then I guess 69 Love Songs, Magnetic Fields. I think that's more than 5,
That's fine.
but
That's
That's-
fine.
All Eyes on Me counts as 2, dude.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
My hip hop and rap knowledge is actually terrible.
Hmm.
I'm not very good in that
This-
category at all.
Here we go. This
It almost has to be a different category. Like when I think 90s music, I don't think 90s hip hop, you know?
Yeah, and it's not because I don't enjoy the genre. It just I don't know where you guys grew up, but I grew up in the state of Oklahoma.
Mm.
And where I grew up, the kids who listened to hip hop were the football players in my school that were not kind to me. So I early on associated all hip hop and rap with the meanest kids in my school, and all grunge and alternative were the kids smoking cigarettes in the parking lot that were like,
Yep.
"We'll accept you, man. We'll accept you."
Yeah.
Yep.
So I can hear Tupac and Biggie and Snoop Dogg and Dre and all that now, and I can really appreciate it. But it made me a very bad audience member for that genre in the 90s. I just was like, I can't listen to this. This is the people that put my head in the toilet in the bathroom.
Yeah, I get that. I
These-
remember
Can I just
riding my
jump in?
bike. I was super young at the time, but I remember riding my bike in the neighborhood. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I remember being like 7 years old, riding my bike, and there were tons of gang members that lived on my street, and I would go in, and they'd call me in to play Street Fighter. So I'd play Street Fighter, and we would just listen to like Chronic or something.
That's awesome.
So that
we
yeah, it
didn't.
was
We
weird.
didn't.
I was weird.
I grew
little-
up in the. I
having
grew
no
up in the
life
Midwest, and we
with
didn't
people.
have actual gangs.
Yeah, we didn't either. I mean, not where I lived, but like the kids that said horrible things and were like, I was a theater kid. I was an easy target. But those
Oh, yeah.
kids, those were the kids that listened to hip hop because it had this aggressive edge to it that they really glommed onto. And so I immediately was like, well, I can't like this stuff because it represents bullying. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what it was
Right.
like.
I
Yeah, that makes sense.
I get
the
that.
the big turnaround for me was Diggable Planets, because again I was this
Yeah.
jazz kid, and then I heard this Diggable Planets record, and I was like, everything just kind of went, oh, okay, I get it. I still have issues with some of the more aggressive types of hip hop.
Yeah.
And there is, and like there's rampant sexism to this day
Yeah.
in hip hop, and I still have issues with that,
Which
but
he loves, by the way.
I love sexism.
Yeah.
He does.
I love
He
it.
does.
No, there's wonderful stuff like Tribe Called Quest. There are bands that I would be introduced to, and I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would understand the poetry and lyricism of it later. And I even had the Patrick Hicks, who does these amazing videos about the history of music. He turned me on to Notorious B.I.G., and I'd never listened to him at all. And I listened to the album and I was like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. So I can really see the skill and the talent that was there. And I'm almost resentful towards my adolescence for being in that place, for not being able to enjoy a genre of music,
Absolutely.
Can I just
John, I thought about the Beastie Boys long and hard. I am a huge Ben Folds 5 fan.
Oh, I love Ben Folds and I love Beastie Boys. Absolutely. Great bands.
That's fun.
That one Frank Black record was really, really amazing. Odelay was also one of those on my lower parts, and I ended up crossing it out. I didn't have Without a Sound on it. I had Where You Been.
Yeah, that's what I would have chosen.
But that's a great list as well.
Can I just want to jump in here for 1
hard.
second. I looked up when, because I was just kind of wondering what was going on, because we mentioned Guns N' Roses, and
Use Your Illusion was the 90s record, right?
Right. Yeah. So Use Your Illusion came out on September 17, 1991. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
September 17, 1991. Nevermind was released then literally a week later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just like
It's shocking.
it's just mind blowing.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Like Guns N' Roses is like we got this great album. Then Nevermind comes out and kids are
Double
like-
album. How could we go wrong? And it just you can feel it peter out. You know what I mean? You can really feel it kind of like they start with Don't Cry. We see Axl's naked ass as a troll under the ground, and you're like, oh, well, this is amazing. And then Smells Like Teen Spirit comes and November Rain. And you're like, okay, we got a full movie now, guys. And by the time you get to Use Your Illusion 2 and they're dropping a Estranged video with dolphins flying through the air, you're like, I think you guys have lost the plot. I think this is over. I think it's over. That's my encyclopedic knowledge of MTV music videos for you.
Jared brings up Sublime. That was
I love the self-titled.
that was a pretty regular part of my, like, anytime I got into a car in high school, 40
Dude,
Ounces of Freedom was playing.
what's Sublime? Did anyone here play the Dave Mirra BMX game in like the early 2000s or late 90s? I forget which.
No, I wasn't a nerd. I played the Tony Hawk Pro Skater one.
Oh no, I played that too. When I beat it, I was like, I have to do other extreme sports from the comfort of my own home. So,
My
actually go outside.
My experience with Sublime was I knew all the radio hits and the songs, and it didn't connect with me. And it wasn't until I was in college and I was stoned on a beach and I heard a Sublime song and I went, oh, that's what this music is for. And I immediately got it. I was like, this is amazing. You have to be high on a beach for this.
Yeah.
Sublime is one of those that I fear I'm gonna come back to. I feel like kind of through, like, as you get older, you just kind of shed more and more of like caring about what other people think about you.
Yeah.
And I reached a point, where like Bob Seger, I was like, fuck, this guy wrote really, really good songs and they were performed really well and he had a great voice. I actually really enjoy this. And where like if you would have talked to me in my 20s, I would be like, that's fucking Ford truck music, and the thing I have a concern about with Sublime is that at some point I'm gonna go back and listen to 40 Ounces of Freedom and go, yeah, that was really solid songwriting.
Yeah.
I started doing
take that walk, brother.
I think
I
that
started doing like a shoegaze cover of Turn the Page, just because I like fucking wanted to see if it would work.
You got it, bud. I'm on it.
Works.
Yes.
It
I want to
works.
hear that. I want to hear that.
Mark and Sean still got to go, right?
Yeah, Mark, what do you got, man?
Okay, so I've got some that you guys haven't fucking touched on. Thank
Wow.
Yes.
God.
Hopefully some
So-
Whitney Houston.
My number 5. No, I left out my affinity for Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls, but I just want you guys to know that those two are fucking up there at the very tip top of my 90s affinity.
So a lot of money went into those records.
My
Fucking
number
right.
5. My number 5 is Mechanical Animals by Marilyn Manson.
Nice.
Great record.
Fucking great record. And then my 4 is Korn self-titled.
Okay,
Solid.
somebody in the comments was asking about Korn earlier, thinking that we had overlooked that. All right.
Let's see. OK Computer was number 3, so you guys fucking Loveless was 2.
I'm so
and-
anxious to hear number 1 here now.
Oh, it's fucking Pinkerton.
Yeah.
Solid.
there you go.
Big one.
So let's go back, and as some alternatives were Adore, Smashing Pumpkins, which I prefer to Siamese Dream.
It's a great album. It's a great album. It's very raw.
Yeah, I much prefer the Weird Pumpkins to the Straight Ahead Rock Pumpkins. Let's see, I had Dummy on there. Dookie was great, and nobody touched on this one yet, which has the best intro of all fucking time. Core, Stone Temple Pilots.
It's a great record.
Hell yeah. I love that album.
It's a
Yeah.
good record.
Good.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
He died. Scott died in a parking
Right
lot.
upstairs.
Right
Not-
upstairs.
like-
He died right here.
Right there.
He's still up there.
About 6 miles from me. He died in a parking lot.
I gave him the hot shot.
Oh my god.
Jesus.
God.
Now the dude from Clydesdale Guitars, he is his main gig is he's a road tech for like a bunch of big country artists and stuff like that. So whenever he's in town, I go pick him up at that parking lot behind that hotel where all the tour buses park next to Mall of America. And every time I'm like, I just say a little prayer
Yeah.
for Scott, knowing that he was laid to rest there. Sean, what do you got, man?
That we haven't. What?
It doesn't matter. Just go.
What can I
There's
say that
nothing
we haven't
left.
already
Sean's
said?
like, there's nothing left.
Okay, I got Evil Empire.
Oh,
amazing.
hell yeah.
Amazing.
Yank Crime. If anybody
I don't
likes
even know what
Drive
that
Like
is.
I
Yahoo.
don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a great record.
Who did it?
Write that down.
Drive Like Yahoo.
Oh,
Okay.
It's good stuff, man.
Sean's
I
out.
listened to
Sean's
it a lot.
out cooling us
in the
all here
2000s.
now.
I gotta just come up with 3 now. How about shit? What's it called? The Smashing Pumpkins double album. Why can't
Melancholy.
Melancholy.
Yeah,
Great.
why can't I think of that?
Absolutely
Melancholy.
incredible record.
Sure. The Blue Album.
Weezer, absolutely.
Weezer.
Nobody said that yet.
Amazing.
So here's
One
here's.
more.
Left it
One
untouched.
Oh, you got one more?
Wait, sure.
One more.
Sure. Limp Bizkit, Significant Other.
There you go.
Fucking
Fantastic.
awesome.
Good list.
So the thing that I was surprised that nobody came up with, and it was further on down my list, but I anticipated somebody pulling it out, was Super Unknown.
That was on my alternate.
Oh,
list.
that's
Oh, man.
Super Unknown.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I
It's a
also,
cool record.
I
Wait,
also
what's
had
Super-
Dirt
what's
by
Super
Alice in
Unknown?
Chains on my alternates. Dirt.
I was so you want to go back to like the freaking MTV glory days. Like I remember sitting up with my friends Joel and Mike, waiting for the premiere of the video for Rooster.
Absolutely.
And watching that video and just being like, wow,
Wow.
this guy sounds a lot like Pearl Jam, but
We're
different.
little kids and we're like, war is hell.
Yeah.
War is hell.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned. I kind of expected someone to bring up like, I don't know, fucking Supergrass.
Yeah.
Just like out of like no, I figured that'd be somewhere on there. I
It
don't
was
know why.
hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to make the list, man. Like Mark said, like
I mean, there's
you mentioned Adore instead of Siamese Dream. I almost had put Melancholy for that because there's songs on Melancholy. Like most of the songs on Melancholy, I like more than Siamese Dream. But like an album as a whole, there's a lot of crap on Melancholy that I don't like.
right.
So I picked Siamese
Yeah.
Dream because like that's just solid start to finish. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't
That
pick
was
Melancholy because of that, and I don't care for the heavier pumpkins. I like the weird pumpkins.
Yeah.
So the psychedelic shit doesn't appeal to me. So Adore, and then Machina
Yeah.
came out in 2000, so I couldn't fucking pick that, which is my favorite Pumpkins record.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I had a few of those too that came out in 2000 or 1989. Like Disintegration was top. I was like, oh, yeah, 1990. Boom. Disintegration. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
fuck,
89, baby.
Yeah,
89.
and the best Pixies albums for me are pre-90. They're all
Yeah.
like my favorites are
Same.
before then. And then you guys brought up Portishead, and I was this close to putting Massive Attack Mezzanine on
Yep,
my top
that's-
because
that's
Oh,
another one.
yeah,
that is
yeah,
one of my
hell yeah.
favorite trip hop albums of all
It's a
time.
great record.
Yeah. I
Just for
had
the
a-
record, Jared from Clydesdale Guitars just came on Instagram seconds after I got done talking about him. Now he'll never know
He'll
if
never
it was
know.
good or bad.
I
Um,
do want to mention, because I forgot, this probably would have made it on my list.
I
but
also
it's
thought
Written for
Airplane
Tiny.
Over the Sea with some of you like
That
Wait,
one's so
been there,
great.
done that,
like, you,
man.
like you,
No.
Charles. I thought you were gonna
No.
be like Airplane
Wait,
Over the
No,
Sea.
fuck.
Charles,
I worked when
That
I
was
was
the one you were about to say something though, Charles, and I didn't hear it. You said something before he asked.
Sleep's Holy Mountain.
Oh,
was-
Sleep's Holy Mountain.
That's the
Gotcha.
big one. Yeah, Sleep's
Anyway.
Holy Mountain, but it was really tiny on my list, so I didn't say it. But yeah, Neutral Milk Hotel, that band, it was good. The first time I heard it, I was, this is great. And then the
Was
other
it?
300 times I heard it, I was like, this fucking sucks. I don't.
Yeah,
I
there's
so-
only so
it's
much
just the
weed you
same-
can smoke around a bunch of perfect strangers at a
Dude.
college
Well,
party
see,
listening to that
It's
record.
just the same vocal melody for the fucking album. I can't do it.
And it
And,
also
like,
I
feels
love
like
that. I
it-
love that record.
It's a great record, but it feels like the Wes Anderson of Answers, right? It feels like you're
Right.
just trying to sound like you are like, I know, you know what I mean? It kind of
Yeah.
like you're trying to sound artistic when you talk
Yeah.
about that album. So
Yeah, I
Not
got
me, baby. I like
so-
new metal.
No, I was done the second time I heard that. I was like, yeah, I don't need to hear this ever again. And then I
I
heard it
think-
200 more times because all my friends. Then it's,
Yeah.
I had a solid couple years where I went from really liking In the Airplane Over the Sea and then On Avery Island and all that stuff to like cut to like God, like 3 years of it being everywhere that I went and then being like, you know what? Fuck this.
yeah, no shit.
I still like the records, but I can never hear them again. It's like Nevermind for me. I listened to Nevermind so much when I was a kid that I didn't listen to Nirvana again until maybe like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And then I was like,
Yeah.
love Nirvana all over again. But
Similar,
and I'm still
similar-
there. I'm still there, but I'm not back there with Neutral Milk Hotel. I can't do
That's
that.
Similar thing
what-
for me,
that's-
but what got me back into Nirvana was Bleach,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
which I would have put on this list, but for the fact that it was 89.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
80s.
It's cutting it
So
close.
that was a like spiritualized for me. The ladies
yeah,
and gentlemen,
they had that
Ladies and
record
Gentlemen
in the
album.
90s.
Yeah,
That fucking like
That's
that double disc record. It was great.
totally, it blew up, and that's like one of my favorite records ever. But I was thinking about it, and like I've probably listened to that more than a ton of these other records, but I haven't listened to it in a really long time, and
Yeah.
I probably won't again, like for a while. I'm just not that into it anymore.
Yeah.
But so that was like with the list too. It was like, okay, shit that impacted me the most, or shit that I still listen to. So it's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I went with as well. Like I really kind of like I even went back through kind of my Spotify history and kind of found some of the 90s stuff that I had listened to recently. But I mean, there were a lot of bands that impacted me in a huge way. I mean, like the Black Crowes, you know, like Shake Your Money Maker was fucking,
Oh yeah,
you know, I mean, like there was all kinds of great records that I think really, really spoke to me and stuff that like
Chumbawamba, you know.
Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba.
I do
Great
wanna
anarchist
say,
band.
I do want to say, because someone on the side, what's this button do, says you all wanted to say Dave Matthews Band, but didn't want to get made fun of. Just admit it. I thought that was very funny. But I did want to say this as kind of like my closing thought of this experience. I would say is that
We should
finding
crash
that,
into you.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that the older I get, the more that I think like love what you love. There's no shame in liking or loving anything because it doesn't matter. Like if it, you know, don't yuck someone's yum. It's like if you go online, it's like people love shit. And the older I get, I'm like, I fucking listen to ABBA. I listen to Neil Diamond.
yeah.
I listen to shit that all the time. And I feel like, do I love Dave Matthews Band? Absolutely. Did I own those albums? I absolutely did. I saw them in concert twice in the 90s. And I'm not putting it on as much anymore. But I just love that we are now in a time in our lives where it's like, love what you love. I'm never going to come on your video on social media that talks about a band that I may not enjoy and say this sucks. I'm not wasting my time with that anymore. I'm not doing that because, you know, it's
Speaking
about
of garbage, nobody mentioned garbage.
Garbage.
Oh,
I think
I love garbage.
I do too. I love both
Garbage is
the first
great.
album and version 2.0. I think it's a great album.
Yeah, they're great
Yeah.
records. Nobody
I
mentioned
think-
Hole.
Yeah.
Whole lot
Hole,
better
through
than
this.
Nirvana.
dude, yeah, I listen to Hole more than Nirvana nowadays.
Same.
I think the moment that Mark and I like really connected was when like we both agreed that Lionel Richie's best work came long after the Commodores, and I was like,
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude.
dude, running with the night, baby.
dancing on the ceiling, man. You know,
Dancing
I
on
mean,
the
like,
ceiling. Funny
That's
story. We
another one.
voted to have that as our class fucking song. This is the power of the power of voting. I grew up in a small fucking town. We took over student council, which it all means nothing, but we got Dancing on the Ceiling passed as the fucking class song.
What a feeling.
Because nobody wanted to vote. We got the T-shirt design passed, which was like caricature faculty dressed up as the Village People. And what else did we do? Those are the two big ones. None of it happened. We ended up with fucking Good Riddance Green Day as the class song and a fucking flaming arrow through the year we graduated as the class T-shirt that everybody got to buy. But I'll tell you what, goddamn it, we tried.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Hi,
Everybody
Emily.
chose Good Riddance.
Hi,
Everybody
Emily
chose
Hopkins.
Good Riddance.
Everybody just to this day.
To this
Hi,
day.
Emily.
To this day.
Hi, Emily.
Hey,
Hi,
Emily.
Emily.
Just all gotta stop and say hi to Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Well, guys, I mean, we're at the end of the hour. I feel like it was a good hour. I feel like we got a lot accomplished.
I had a great time by not playing by your rules at all and insisting that I get to do my top 5 no matter if they were chosen already.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. There are no rules here.
Yeah.
This is like
It's the Outback Steakhouse of live streams. There's no rules, just right.
this is like yeah, exactly. This is
Sorry, I worked there in college. It's the only
This is
reason I would know that.
this is like the slab city of the internet, guys. Is what this is.
I love it.
Do you guys remember when I got obsessed with Slab City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Still
have to go
never
check
win.
it out.
Nah,
No,
stats.
I don't want to ever.
Well, Jacob, man, thank you so much for your time here.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want to pull up. I think next week, same time, same channel. We will have Emily Harris from Get Offset here.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
As well as we'll see if this happens. Will Bennett the third from the Instagrams.
A twofer?
Yeah, we're gonna hope that if we throw more shit at the wall, something sticks.
Fuck it.
Love it.
But yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us, and it was really, really enjoyable.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Honored to be here and really great to meet a lot of you guys at NAMM. I hope we can hang again soon.
Yeah.
Please let me know when you're in Los Angeles and we'll go out and grab a drink or go see a band or something together. I'd love it. You guys are a lot of fun.
we'll go see your band.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the plan.
Yeah, come see Temple of the Dads. I promise you, in all my dad bod glory, I give every ounce of energy I possibly can.
He gives 40 ounces of freedom.
Absolutely. I just watched a video of myself playing and I'm coming out and I could just see my belly and I'm like, oh God.
Fucking dude. Shake your moneymaker.
Shake my money.
That's
Right.
Hey, we can keep going all night with this.
Yeah,
All right, guys.